The Ouija board has been in circulation for many, many years and gives people mixed emotions. Some are filled with curiosity, others disdain. But many who have dabbled with this board game have been left terrified. Today we will take a brief look at the history of this infamous game, as well as some of the experiences people on Reddit claim to have had. I will also tell a story that my father told me of his encounter with the Ouija board. According to the Smithsonian magazine, the board originally stems from spiritualism, which is a belief that the dead can talk to the living. Now, even though this thought has been around for centuries, it wasn't until the 19th century that it became popular in America. It was a time when lifespans were shorter and death more frequent due to disease, war, and complications in childbirth. Many were left so destroyed they wanted to talk with their loved ones again, to say goodbye on their terms, find closure, or even answers to questions like, "Where'd you hide that document?" or "Where's all the money gone?" The idea of talking with the dead was seen as a totally acceptable practice, with three sisters from Rochester, New York, playing an imperative role in the conception of spiritualism in 1848. Maggie and Kate Fox fascinated people with their method of communicating with the dead by a series of taps that could be heard on walls. Their elder sister, named Leah, managed their careers at this time, and they were immensely popular until in 1888, Maggie confessed that they had tricked everyone, even showing publicly how the hoax had been performed. But discovering the girls were frauds didn't stop spiritualism from gaining more followers. Even Mary Todd Lincoln, the beloved wife of Abraham Lincoln, was known to conduct seances at the White House after their 11-year-old son died from a severe fever. Now, the first tool to come out was the talking boards, but there is no real evidence to suggest who the person was that created it. The talking board had just letters and numbers displayed with a small cursor. This paved the way for the Ouija board, which had the words yes, no, and goodbye, and a planchette included. In February 1891, a Pittsburgh toy and novelty shop began advertising the board as Ouija, the wonderful talking board, stating that it could answer questions about the past, present, and future with marvellous accuracy, and promising never-failing amusement and recreation for all the classes at a cost of $1.50. So what experiences have people had with this board game that left them terrified and going from skeptic to true believer? Around 11 p.m. one evening, some friends were hanging out in a dorm room when someone suggested playing with a Ouija board. Out of the group, one young man who was a total skeptic and believed the practice was a load of rubbish scornfully asked the board, "Is this for real or a load of crap?" with the board responding promptly the word no. The young man replied, "Prove it," words he regretted later. You see, as soon as he challenged the spirits, everything kicked off all at once. The lights began to flicker and the fire alarm started screaming. The young group ran out of the room following school protocols, but as they returned to the locked bedroom, they discovered the board had vanished without a trace. Many years ago, a small group of girls aged around 14 years old were having a sleepover when one of the friends produced a board, something that many of the girls were freaked out about. Not wanting to seem like a chicken, they played around with the game and were surprised when all the questions they asked were answered correctly. After a time, they closed the game down. But it seems that whatever spirit the teenagers had been talking to wasn't ready to say goodbye. They heard doors creaking open when there was no breeze and footsteps echoing along the hallway. More alarming, though, was the fact that every member of the group was being awoken between 4 and 5 a.m, each witnessing a black figure walking down the streets outside their homes. One girl even saw the dark shadow figure pushing its face against her window, watching her, which is truly horrifying as she lived on the second floor. Thinking it would be a little bit of fun with her two children, one mother who didn't believe in the supposed power of the Ouija board got way more than she bargained for. The small family played around innocently enough at first, spelling out childish words meant to be funny like butt or poop, until the mother decided to ask the board a serious question. You see, a very close friend of hers had gone missing a month or so before, and nobody had a clue where he'd gone. Had he started a new life somewhere, or was it something more sinister? Well, first she asked if anyone was there, to which the board responded with her friend's name. For this purpose, let's say Peter. Now, more than a little surprised, the mother asked if it was the same Peter she was friends with, and the planchette responded yes. Wanting to find out answers, she then asked him where he was, to which he replied, "The lake." You can imagine how upsetting this was to hear, but not wanting to make a big deal out of it in front of her children, the mother brushed off left the comment the best she could, until 2 weeks later when Peter's body was discovered. It seems the poor man had been walking on a bridge when a car came along and hit him, sending his body into the lake below. A young group was playing around with the board when one of them decided to find out how the spirit had died. It responded with murder. The spirit went on to say that it had been alive in the 1800s and gave an old-fashioned sounding name as its own, when suddenly the atmosphere in the room became heavy and dark. At this moment, the planchettes went flying out of their reach across the room. You can imagine the fear they felt at this moment and so hastily put the board away, refusing to use it again. But sadly, it seems the damage was already done, as the mothers of the children started being attacked one by one. The first mother died from cancer 1 week later when no one even knew she was unwell. Another was sent to hospital for alcoholism, while the last mother was rushed to hospital for an emergency hysterectomy. As if this wasn't bad enough, the group of friends have been haunted ever since, with visitations from dark shadows and the sound of voices and footsteps. 3 young kids were trying to scare each other late one night with a Ouija board, not taking any of the messages seriously, until a message came through that said, "I can see you through the window," followed by, "I can see you through his eyes." Gotta be honest, that would have freaked me the hell out. Anxiously, the young group looked around them, but as they were in the basement of the house, there was only a small window present which looked out onto the backyard and woods close by. Wanting to discover more, they asked more questions until asking, "Where are you hiding?" The response was, "I'm under the car." Now, kids seem to have more bravery at times like this than many adults, probably because they're still innocent and feel nothing can harm them. Well, they walked outside and looked under the car. Hidden there was a stray cat, who, shocked at their sudden appearance, hissed in their faces. Frightened by the angry kitty, the children turned back to the house when suddenly all the lights went out, finally coming back on after a few minutes. Needless to say, they never played with a Ouija board again. These were some of the tales I found online about people's experiences with a Ouija board. Are they all true? Could they be exaggerated? That is for you to decide. But this next story was told to me by my dad, who is not the kind to make stuff up. During the late 1960s, he was hanging around with a group of friends, drinking and having a smoke, when the idea was brought up about playing with a Ouija board. Most of the group thought it would be a bit of fun and so figured, what the hell? I mean, they're not real anyway, so how bad can it be? At first, things seemed fine until the atmosphere started to change. My dad described it as not something you could see, but feel. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up as fear gripped his senses, something the cat who lived there agreed with, as it started to scream and run frantically around the room as if trying to escape an invisible threat. After this, everyone just thought, nope, and left quickly. Have you ever fooled around with a Ouija board? And if so, did you experience anything paranormal? Or was it just a silly game that you found nothing scary about? But if nothing happened to you, were you disappointed? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Honestly, I'm not sure how I feel about Ouija boards. I think if there is any truth to what people say they've experienced, it's because they're sensitive to the paranormal already, and whatever has been trying to reach them has used this as a method. If you're not tuned into your paranormal abilities, because they do say we are all capable of more than we think, but often fear or society has closed our minds to it. Maybe this is why the board remains quiet. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I look forward to sharing more dark tales with you, especially with Halloween right around the corner. Until next time, my friends, stay safe out there.